Hello, my name is Celestine. I'm going to be screencasting a presentation on homelessness and hostile architecture, what Salt Lake City residents need to know. Hostile architecture is sometimes called defensive architecture, defensive design, or anti-homeless design. Taylor Stevens, in an article in the Salt Lake Tribune, states that hostile architecture is mainly used to prevent the use of public spaces by people who experience homelessness. Often cities are trying to dissuade the use of skating in certain areas, but unsheltered people tend to be the biggest target. This is because makeshift camps and an overwhelming amount of homeless population can spring up around Salt Lake City and cause concerns for people and businesses located nearby. Going forward in this presentation, I'm going to focus more about the causes and statistics of homelessness. This is because I focused on hostile architecture in my audio clip. Hostile architecture is actively making public spaces worse. And so I wanted to focus on the effects and statistics of homelessness in Salt Lake City specifically. According to data provided by the state of Utah on the Workforce Services for Homeless Services website, the majority of people experiencing homelessness in 2020 were experiencing it for the first time. This was shown true when evaluating the instance of homelessness over the past 3 years. As you can see from the chart pulled up on the website, apart from single adults, unaccompanied youth accounted for the largest percentage to be experiencing homelessness 4+ times over the past 3 years, so that they had the largest percentage of chronic homelessness behind single adults. The 2020 Annual Homeless Assessment Report presented by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development found that homelessness increased nationwide for the 4th consecutive year. 2020 marked a turning point where more people experiencing homelessness went unsheltered rather than sheltered, and there was a 2% increase between 2019 and 2020 for the number of people experiencing homelessness. When we dive into the demographics of the homeless population a little bit, you can see on the pie chart here that minority populations are heavily represented in the homeless population. So indigenous peoples, they make up about 1% of the US population, but they make up about 5% of the homeless population and 7% of the unsheltered population. Black Americans represent about 39% of the total homeless population, yet they only represent 13% of the US population. And the last demographic we'll look at, Hispanics, they represent 23% of the homeless population, but they only compose about 16% of the population in the US. Looking more specifically into Utah, this is a chart from the 2020 Annual Homeless Assessment Report. This chart shows Utah's relationship with homelessness in comparison to the rest of the nation, with less than 10 people experiencing homelessness per 10,000 people in the state population. You can see Utah is in the light blue portion of the US, but is not the lowest rated for homeless populations. Mississippi is actually the state that has the lowest homeless population in the US. Despite the relatively low homeless population rates in comparison to the rest of the country, the homeless in Utah are just as unwelcome here as they are in the rest of the US. Makeshift camps are often set up by homeless in various parts of the city in order to try to maintain some stability in a short amount of time. But in Utah, the Salt Lake County Health Department is required by law to maintain public health and safety, and this will often lead to camp abatements of these makeshift camps. Camp abatement is a sort of cleaning event that usually happens when these camps have been there for an extended period of time and it causes public health concerns. While no one is allowed in the area except for Salt Lake County public health staff during the scheduled cleaning, unsheltered people can move back to the spot after all of the officials have left and cleaned up everything there. And so this can lead to several camp abatements happening in the same area over time. I found this information on the camp abatement fact sheet on the Salt Lake City Housing Stability website. Taylor Stevens wrote an article in the Salt Lake Tribune titled "Camp Last Hope in Salt Lake City, Dispersing Ahead of Planned Health Department Sweep." In this article, he says that organizers at Camp Last Hope have been conscious of the potential environmental and health concerns at the camp, doing daily walkthroughs to ensure it stayed clean and organized, clean needle exchanges. And that's what's part of keeping it operating for so long without an abatement. But health department officials say outdoor camp pose inherent public health risks and plans to conduct the sweep after receiving several complaints from residents as well as the private property owner, Union Pacific. Often, people will see police present during camp abatements, and this can lead to serious concern for many citizens about whether or not homeless people are being unfairly cited for camping or any other concerns that they have. But according to the Salt Lake City Homeless Stability website, police officers are required to be at camp abatements, mainly as a standby and assist to ensure the safety of the county staff. However, as you can see from this photo, camp abatements can be pretty traumatic for any homeless person who did not have enough time or was unable to get their tents out, their blankets out, their clothes out, or any of their other property. And so this mixed with any angry citizens who are concerned about the camp abatements happening has just led to the county having police present at all times during camp abatements to ensure safety. Emily Means on the news station QUER addresses some criticisms of police involvement with camp abatements and closures. She does this through Operation Rio Grande. Operation Rio Grande was a cooperative effort between the city, county, and state to address crime and homelessness in downtown Salt Lake and served to stop homeless people from camping on Rio Grande Street. Rio Grande Street was the street just in front of the Road Home, which was the main homeless shelter in Salt Lake City up until its closure, which happened, I guess coincidentally, at around the same time as Operation Rio Grande. What Operation Rio Grande served to do was to just push all of the homeless people off of the street there in order to stop crime and in the area and to encourage local residents to go out more and feel a bit safer in the area. However, on the next slide, we can see that after Operation Rio Grande, the arrests in Rio Grande went down. You can see in 2015, 2016, the turning point was in 2017 and it went down. But North Temple, which is only a few streets away, you can see how the arrests there kind of skyrocketed and have remained high ever since. So whether Operation Rio Grande was a success or not, it's kind of up to you to decide, depending on the numbers. If you think that the drop of arrests in one area is pretty good, but it seems that all it did was really just push homeless people and the crime rates to other areas of the city. This is the end of the presentation. I thank you for taking the time with me to pause and learn a little bit more about the homelessness situation and the effects of homelessness and some of the causes of homelessness that are prevalent in Salt Lake City, Utah.